I'm Mike Thompson, the chapter chair of SCORE Nashville. I appreciate all of you getting up so early. We appreciate that we didn't anticipate a little lag in getting here. Mainly we're in Lipscomb. It's a great location, great venue, and we're so fortunate to be here with you today. And I just wanted to say that this is SCORE's first official small business and entrepreneurship conference. I hear a lot of jingling. Yes, I had one too. Within the bag, you have it all. We're going to be talking about a lot of things you've come familiar with what you have in the bag. There's some freebies, there's some information. I think today is going to be very exciting. This half-day conference was developed to address topics that you would have broad appeal to each and every one of you. Whether you're in business or an entrepreneur from the starting business. The idea of having a small business conference was developed by SCORE in Nashville, although we do other things like this nationwide, and was supported by our district director, Kathy Walton. Kathy, where are you? Kathy, there she is. Kathy, thank you for all of your support, what you've done to enable us to have this conference. Basically, it started about 9 months ago when we learned that SCORE National was going to provide a grant to selected chapters to conduct certain types of functions. So like the lottery, I don't think we just put our name in the hat. We actually wrote a grant, we qualified, and we were selected. So with that said, we have basically had to then go out and figure out where we're going to head. Due to the help of Ray Eldridge, the Lipscomb Business School of Business, he was very, very helpful in finding us a facility that hosts the people we wanted to attend, and it was allowing us tremendous support in everything that's done here today. Once we got the Lipscomb Conference Center nailed out, perfect for our operation. The next thing is then we had to look and see where we're going to support to get people to attend. I apologize if we've bombarded each and every one of you with a lot of emails, but that's in today's world, that's what it takes to get participants. The Fifth Third Bank is our second major sponsor. And Louis Brody, are you here today? I didn't see Louis. Louis Brody is Vice President of Community and Economic Development for Fifth Third. He's out in the community meeting a lot of organizations, and he is a matchmaker, and we thank Fifth Third Bank for what they've done for SCORE. In conjunction with that, Rick Miller, who is our own Rick Miller, he is the Vice President of SCORE. And that just means you get to work a lot. Rick has been instrumental in developing our relationship with Fifth Third Bank and has enabled us to have this event today. He's going to be actually hosting the function. Let's talk a little bit about SCORE and who we are and what we do. First of all, we are a nonprofit association comprised of about 11,000 people like Rick, myself, and other people who are here today. We have 11,000 members. We have 320 chapters in the United States. That's what SCORE is comprised. We were founded in 1967 and an extraordinarily active organization nationwide. We basically are mentoring entrepreneurs who want to start business or people in business. Our goal is to help them either start or grow their business or succeed in business, whatever it takes, and that's what our mission is. I think SCORE as a brand is the best kept secret in town, and that's Towns USA. We're a phenomenal organization in what we can do. Last year, or actually through this year, our fiscal year starts in October 1, we've seen 17 and 22 clients in one capacity or another. The first area that we work in is SCORE. We are an organization that supports the business. We are here to help each and every one of you, regardless of what help you need, where you are, what what assistance you need. What we'd like to do is invite you to be active in the store. That means you can participate in our workshops, which you probably have. How many have been to store workshops? Hold your hand. Wow, that's a lot. How many of you have had mentoring services from store? You have a mentor. Equal number. Good. Well, just for those of you who have never attended, we have workshops we have 54 workshops this year. And these are taught by experienced store members and sometimes outside guests. We had 602 people attend workshops in 2015. Workshop calendar is on. You can go on to storenashville.org. You can look at workshop calendar, and you can find out all the things that we teach each and every person. You can go on and select the workshop that you would like to participate in. The workshops basically are virtually everything we do is free except workshops, and they're a whopping $25 to $30 depending when you register. And we would encourage you to look over in your bag. You're going to see various people that are speaking today. You're going to have one or two examples of workshops we conduct. Ed Repute is going to be talking a little bit about the monitor. What I would suggest you do is look at store as a fantastic resource to enable you to be more comfortable in opening your business or improving your existing business. The calendar, you can go online and get the calendar, pick your workshops you want to attend, and be sure to register in advance because these are closed out if we have too many. For example, this weekend I think we have 10 registered. We generally try to work with 10 to 15 attendees at each workshop. In 2015, we also have done a lot of mentoring for our clients. Mentoring these are mentors within SCORE. The 45 people that we have members of SCORE will be, in many cases, your instructors, will be, in many cases, your personal mentors. If you go online to SCORE and register for counseling, you will find the things that we can do. You will fill out a registration sheet online. You will tell a little bit about yourself and what your specific need is. And then what we will do is match a mentor within SCORE to be your personal mentor counselor. And I strongly suggest, once again, all you have to do is go online, pick counseling, register online, and tell us a little bit about yourself. But within 4 days, you'll get a call from the person that's been selected to be your mentor. And I think you'll find it very rewarding once you get to know them and they get to know you and plan your session. We have an additional, besides the workshops and mentoring, we have an additional new course we have. That is a pre-mentoring. If you're not quite sure what you want to do, all you got to do is attend our pre-mentoring sessions, which are free. That lets you know exactly what you can expect, your expectations, our expectations, to enable us both to work together to be successful. I wanted to say, in terms of our program today, you're going to find that it's going to be very helpful in many areas. Take your notes, go back to SCOREnashville.org, learn more about us. You can also go to SCORE.org and learn more about our national organization. You will find out about the other services we have, which basically are webinars and live workshops. One of the things I do want to bring to your attention, a lot of you are awful dressed up, and I think you probably have been in business for many years, maybe you're starting your second or third business. What we would like to do is ask you to consider being a SCORE member and a volunteer to help our clients, some of you that are sitting here, and others. You'll find it to be very rewarding. I got into it 5 years ago. It's probably the most rewarding thing I've ever been involved in for small businesses. Because our mentors are individuals who come from large corporations, maybe built businesses for them, or have come basically to us with little or no experience. Today, I'd like to just wind up and say that we look forward to having you. We're glad you're here. Feel free today to ask your questions. And I'd like to now introduce a person that has been very helpful to us and the organization, that is the Lipscomb University. I'd like to introduce Lisa Scheifert, who is the Assistant Dean at Lipscomb Business School. And she is responsible, listen to this, she's responsible for recruiting students in graduate programs. And she has increased the program from 470%. Lisa, we want you to come on board and help us. You've been very, very successful. And she'd like to share a few things about the graduate program, what Lipscomb University can also do for you. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to Lipscomb and our College of Business. Swain is where our College of Business is hosted. Can I ask, how many of you are actually products of Lipscomb? You, okay. How many of you, this is your first time to be on campus? Wow, okay. Welcome. We want to have you back on our campus and hopefully partner with you any way that we can in the future. I do apologize for parking. It may have been a challenge for you, maybe not. A lot of times on a college campus, parking can be an issue. Chances are, if you didn't have any trouble with parking, you were lucky, and a student will be saying probably some bad words as they're circling around trying to find a parking place today. But we are so proud to have you here today. I want to let you know a little bit about our graduate program. If that is something that you want to improve your skills and knowledge, maybe a graduate business degree is in your future, or you may know someone who's considering a degree. We offer some very flexible MBA programs here. Classes night or weekend, even on this campus, or also facilities down in Cool Springs called Spark. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but a place that will host different meetings and things during the day and master's programs at night. We've got a Master's of Accountancy, Master of Human Resources, some new Masters of Management programs, one in particular that we started this fall in nonprofits. So working with the nonprofit communities to help them understand and maybe run their organizations a little bit more like a business, or at least learn some of the lessons from business to help their organization. We've also got some Masters of Management that we are calling Early Career. So this is for the student, kind of like Rick. Rick, who many of you I think know, but maybe at the end of their experience they say, why did I get my master's in public relations? Why did I get my master's? What was I thinking? But I'm going to finish and I'm going to graduate. And then they come back for what we call a Master's of Management Early Career. And we're saying, come to the business side. And this early career group has a one-year experience. They have, as part of their curriculum, a directed work experience where they're working 30 hours a week in a business and they're getting paid for that. They are having experiences meeting with, for example, Milton Johnson of HCA. Our students, 22 years old, have audience with him and his C-suite team at different events. And that is just one example of an experience that they have every month. So it's a very different program, has been very successful. As they come into the program with no business or very little business experience, some of them are leaving with jobs making $60,000 a year. Unbelievable the experience that they've had. So some of you may work for organizations that might be interested in hosting a directed work experience, and we'd love to work with you on that. Or again, if you are interested in a master's degree, we would love to talk to you. So Rick is going to be hosting today's event, and he is a product of Lipscomb University, got that public relations, which is a great degree. And then he was telling me that his one of his last classes, his senior year, he came into an accounting class with Charles Frazier, and it really sparked something that interested him. So he went back, got an MBA, has worked in banking for the last 12 years, And now it's starting his own CPA practice, working with Webb Pickard. And I actually know the people that he's going to be working with and went to high school. So it's a very small world. Nashville's a small community, and we're tickled to death. I think a lot of you probably do know him because he has over 500 LinkedIn connections, over 500 people Facebook friends, and on Facebook he's referred to as Ricky Miller. So if you want to look him up, now you'll know something about him. He met his wife right here on this campus of a beautiful 7-year-old. So he's not only been very successful in business, but also has a great family as well. So Rick, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, it's truly a pleasure to be back here at Lipscomb University. And sir, I gotta tell you from firsthand, experience, you can fall asleep in that seat and whoever's sitting up here will have no clue that you're there. So just so you know that firsthand. But truly it was though, it was here in this building. I took many classes here. As you know, Lipscomb is obviously a rich heritage of being Christian University, made Bible classes here. But I did take my first accounting class over here in Swing 110. And it was with Mr. Charles Frazier that he actually said, okay, this is Accounting Fundamentals 1, right? He said, how many freshmen do we have in the room? Half the hands went up. How many sophomores? 45% of it. Juniors, not a single hand. Seniors, 1. Why are you here? And I said, you know what? I need an elective, and I thought what better thing than accounting. And what was so special to me is the spark that Charles Frazier inspired in me that ultimately became, I had a great degree program here in public relations, but I'll tell you what, to be able to go back and earn that MBA and become a CPA, continue to represent this university, not just in the public relations field and getting in front of and working with great groups like SCORE, but also be able to parlay all that experience over the CPA world. So truly a bridge of 2 great experiences all down here at Lipscomb. And again, meeting my wife here, 13 years ago, over in the basement, back in those days, the student newspaper, the Lipscomb Battler, was over there in Johnson Hall. We met there, and obviously, like I said, I have a beautiful son, Sam, who's 7 now, and yes, on Facebook I am Ricky. So those of you that have been looking for me and haven't been able to find me, there you go. Well, first off, I want to thank all the SCORE people that made today's event possible. I want to thank the conference committee that brought this all together. So I'd like to thank Mr. Mike Moody, Mr. Tom Coffey, Mr. Joe Davenport, Mr. Mark Oswald, Mr. Mike Rosen, Mr. Mike Thompson, and our very special and distinguished chairperson, Miss Lisa Odell, who helped us. So a big round of applause. I would also like to introduce a new strategic partnership that we are beginning with the Nashville Area Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to introduce Mr. Yuri Quinza, the Executive Director of the Nashville Area Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. All right, well, again, we got to start a little bit late today, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into today's program. A little bit of housekeeping. First off, like you said, we are still expecting more people to come in, and they'll probably come in throughout the morning. So if we need to scoot in, I'll come here and make an announcement of that. Restrooms are located. If you leave the hall and head over to your right around the corner, that's the closest restroom facilities. All right. We're also like to announce before we get going of course, our presenting sponsors, Lipscomb University and Fifth Third Bank, as well as our supporting sponsors, Alternative Tax Solutions, Ledor Law and Attorney Luke Ledor, Capital Financial Management, Constant Contact, BrandNet, Crowdfund Guard, Hollow Photographics, Midtown Printing, the National Entrepreneur Center, Pathway Women's Business Center, Paychecks, the SBDCs of Tennessee, Schaefer Law Firm, the Tennessee American Chinese Chamber of Commerce, Tiger Box Marketing, the UPS Store, US Bank, and the Webb Pickard Group. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Our first speaker for today. Mr. Walter Perry is the Senior Representative and Executive Director for the SBA here in Tennessee. And with a staff of 12 based here in Nashville in the Memphis office, Walter leads the Tennessee District in facilitating loans to small businesses through lending institutions, advocating federal government contracting opportunities for small businesses, and working with local communities in all 95 Tennessee counties on entrepreneurial development and growth opportunities. Prior to this assignment, Walter served with NASA in Washington in the Office of Space Flight, supporting the space station and space shuttle programs. He began his federal service upon appointment as a presidential management intern in 1990 with assignments at NASA, the U.S. EPA, and North Carolina. Without further ado, Mr. Walter Herring.
Thank you very much. Good morning on this great, beautiful, I guess it is the first day of fall, right? So we're very blessed to have this great weather here in Nashville, Music City, Tennessee. The U.S. Small Business Administration. How many of you have heard of SBA before? Okay, good number of hands. And a lot of times when we kind of, get together with small business owners, people say, well, those loans are great, Walter. Could you just start passing out the bags of cash and it will be a really good day? So we do guaranteed loans, and we do help small businesses, and we help people all across the great state of Tennessee. And one thing we always like to try to start our morning with, so our friends at SCORE and all of the different sponsors here today can get some kind of feel for who's in the audience. How many of you are looking to start up a business from scratch right now? Can we kind of see, show of hands? Okay, looks like that. How many of you are in business already and looking to just grow? Create some more jobs, help that bottom line, okay? About half there. So what that shows us is that we can be of service to you through the sessions that are going to be offered today. This is important because SCORE, as Mike said earlier, they have mentors that are available that can work with you to take you along the journey. And that's what I like to say, that owning and operating a small business is a journey. From startup to expansion to making sure that you have cash flow, and that is so important. And that's a lot of the inquiries that we get. How do I do that? We're here today to help you see how to do it. One thing that we, as I mentioned, get a lot of questions about are the loans. And people say, I can't, I've tried to get a small business loan before, my credit is challenging, or I don't have the collateral to put down. We can help at SBA. And the way the loan process works, and I do want to introduce Jacqueline Merritt. Jacqueline, raise your hand back here. Jacqueline works with borrowers here in the middle of Tennessee, has a nice booth outside. And part of what we're doing is trying to connect banks in the area and credit unions where borrowers need. We don't endorse any banks, but when a bank has someone like yourself in this room coming forward and say, hey, I need capital. I want to start up a business. I want to expand a business. An SBA loan can help because there's never a call note. There's never any balloon payments. We can often do better terms, more years to pay off the loan. We have loans for working capital as well as loans for any type of buildings, facilities, refinance. That is what the SBA does. And, people say, well, Walter, show me. How does $62 million sound? $62 million is the dollar amount of SBA loans we have done in Davidson County, Tennessee, USA this year. $62 million. Now, if you take Davidson and all of the contiguous counties, Williams, Rutherford, Sumner, Cheatham, that number goes up to 107 million. Those are real dollars. Those are real small businesses that have been held right here in your community. And just drive around Nashville. And, we've helped a lot of businesses to get started. And they can be businesses, everything from a bricks and mortar, a restaurant, to anything that maybe is an online business. We see a lot of emerging trends at SBA in terms of what businesses are really growing now. Healthcare is really a growing business, taking care of elderly care, particularly. food service, restaurants, we fund a lot of those. In Tennessee, we're people who like to eat. And we do a lot of restaurants, we do a lot of hotels, we do a lot of retail shops. And I just offer that to you because there's a wide diversity of businesses. And that's where SCORE can sit down with you and say, okay, what's going to fly, so to speak? What's going to make cash flow? Because if you're not making cash flow to pay off, a loan, that's called an expensive hobby. You got to make cash flow because otherwise you got a really expensive hobby. And that's the hallmark of business, to make cash flow and to make a profit so you can expand, hire some more employees. So I just want to mention the SBA loans. I know Fifth Third's here today, Brad Pearson, Delano Green, will not be in the house here. Those, along with U.S. Bank, is another one of our sponsors. I think I see Sue Malone back here. ISU, another one of our SBA lenders. So we have a lot of lenders that have money to lend. And let me just say, and I say this so, the lenders want to lend money. They are sitting on a lot of cash that is going to go good in vault. It's not making money through interest. And when you have SBA loans, like I say, they are guaranteed because we accept the risk as the government. We guarantee 85% of that up to $150,000. That's a little bit of banker's fee, but the banks like it because if there's some, issues with maybe credit history or the collateral, hey, the note is guaranteed by the SBA, so the banks like that. So the banks want to lend money. And I will say, as I mentioned earlier, it's a journey. Because you might go to a bank and maybe they don't lend to, say, restaurants. They have so many already in their portfolio. Go to the next bank. Don't give up. Be persistent. Be diligent. Because it is often that it may not be the first, second, or third bank, but it might be the 15th bank. And in East Tennessee, in Knoxville, we had a borrower. He was a starter, and he was really, persistent. It was bank 15 that gave him a loan. Don't give up. Be persistent. Be encouraged on that. So I wanted just to offer, today is an opportunity to connect. Today is the opportunity to cement a relationship with SCORE and to be excited about it. Man, we're in Music City, USA, right? We're on the bubble, as some people say, of growth, and the economy is growing. The economy is certainly doing good. This is a great area of Tennessee to start a small business or to expand a small business. As long as you have cash flow, not an expensive hobby, but we can help at SBA through our resource partners at SCORE and then also through our loans that we provide. I'll conclude this morning by just offering you a real story about a real SBA loan. How about that? And a real product that's done pretty darn well. And we had a borrower, and it was back up in the mid-90s, up in Baltimore, Maryland, that was a college student, and he had come up with a particular type of fabric that, as a football player, would repel the sweat. And he wanted to take this product to market. He was really excited about it. And he went to the SBA and said, hey, I need some help. I need some, how to get, finance and all. And he connected through an SBA lender up in Baltimore, Maryland. I think got about $190,000, $250,000 SBA loan. And he started this company. And that was, about 15 years ago. And the person who started this company worked real hard. And he was an entrepreneur. And he grew that company to the company today we know as Under Armour. Under Armour started with Small Business Administration assistance. And it was through the great wisdom of Kevin Plank that is a global company today. And it's created many jobs, a product we see in the marketplace all the time. It is a success story. And I offer that as encouragement here on this morning where we're all gathered here today. That is the encouragement we want you to take today. That you can do it right here in Music City, USA, right? Outstanding. That's what we want to hear, that we've got the energy and the enthusiasm and SCORE, the resource partners that are out here in the hall today. Let's make some good things happen. All those that you put your hand up, that you're looking to start a business, we want you to get that open sign lit up. All of those that put up their hands that they are in business, that want to expand, we want to help you add that other job, that next employee. Add that more bottom line to your bottom, add that more dollars to the bottom line. So be encouraged today. Connect. It's going to be a great day here on the campus of Lisbon University. Thank you so much.
At SCORE, we are so grateful to SBA and the partnership that we've had since our founding in the 60s. And thank you so much, Walter, for the partnership that we have here in Tennessee. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and go on to our first presentation for the day. Just so you can get a feel for the agenda today, we have 2 presentations this morning. We'll have about a 30-minute break, 2 presentations after that, and then we will conclude. And also, by the way, if you will please set your cell phones to either stun or silent, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. I have a great opportunity to present many of our workshops at SCORE. And after every workshop, I always have a question, what is the next workshop I should take? And I always ask one question. Have you had the opportunity to take business modeling? Business modeling is so important and creates a great opportunity to visually conceptualize your business or expansion before you go. We have 2 great speakers here. First, I'd like to introduce Dr. Joe Ivey. Dr. Ivey serves as the clinical professor here of management and the associate dean for the graduate business program and the executive director of the Lipscomb Center for Entrepreneurship here at Lipscomb University. His teaching interests focus on entrepreneurship, business strategy, strategic execution, and value creation. I would also like to introduce our very own Ed Raccoon. Ed has been a SCORE mentor since 2009. He is our past chapter chairman and currently authors a bi-weekly small business article for the Tennessean. He facilitates many SCORE workshops specializing in business modeling and business planning. Without further ado, Mr. Ed and Dr. Joe.
All right, so in your packets, in these packets, you will find one of these. In here,
That's so great. Good job.
It's when they go to the restroom, it's really
in here you're going to find a couple of handouts on business models. Because of the size of the screen and the size of the room, you may use these handouts as we go through the presentation. It also means you don't have to take a lot of notes, and we're going to be moving fast. This is a 3-semester course in college. A 3-hour workshop that we do, and we're going to do it in 30 minutes. So be ready to move. Here we go. Business modeling. Concept similar to business planning. And most of you that have got a business have done a business plan. Most that are starting a business are going to have to do a business plan so that you can borrow money. But a business plan is typewritten. It is rarely reviewed after you get that loan. How many people have a business plan that you've looked at every 6 months? 2, 3. Most people don't go back and look at their business plans because it's hard to see relationships within a plan. But if you had on a canvas, if you had your business model and it's set up on a wall, or you had it on a poster, and it sat in your office, and you had sticky notes on it, and you could take off a sticky note because that no longer applies. Or you could add a sticky note. What I've done here, the dark colored sticky notes, and I'm colorblind, I think they may be blue or they may be purple. But that's an example of somebody looking at their business model and saying, maybe I'll add that on to what I'm currently doing. And if I add it on, what do I have to change? I want to add this one value proposition. What do I have to do to my customer segments, my customer relationships? What changes in my business? So it's a dynamic kind of visual. New businesses use it to test a concept. You don't want to start a business without knowing fairly certainly that the business is going to succeed. So you do a business model and you kind of test each of the segments and say, do I have capital to start this business? If not, where do I get it? Existing businesses are always adding, hopefully adding and changing products. If they don't, they're going to get left behind. So existing businesses use this just to see where your business is. And all businesses use it to understand the relationships between your customers and your partners and your resources. And we've got a video, it should be coming up right here, that's going to take about 2 minutes of our 30 minutes. So take a look at this.
Organization's business model, we describe the 9 basic building blocks: your customer segments, your value proposition for each segment, the channels to reach customers, customer relationships you establish, the revenue streams you generate, the key resources and key activities you require to create value, the key partners, and the cost structure of the business model. But it's not sufficient to just enumerate the 9 building blocks. What you really want to do is to map them out on a pre-structured canvas. This is what we call the business model canvas, a tool that helps you map, discuss, design, and invent new business models. Let's briefly go through the 9 building blocks, starting with the customer segments. These are all the people or organizations for which you're creating value. This includes simple users and paying customers. For each segment, you have a specific value proposition. These are the bundles of products and services that create value for your customers. Channels describe through which touch points you're interacting with customers and delivering value. Customer relationships outline the type of relationship you're establishing with your customers. The revenue streams make clear how and through which pricing mechanisms your business model is capturing value. Then you need to describe the infrastructure to create, deliver, and capture value. The key resources show which assets are indispensable in your business model. Key activities show which things you really need to be able to perform well. The key partners show who can help you leverage your business model, since you won't own all key resources yourself, nor will you perform all key activities. Then once you understand your business model's infrastructure, you'll also have an idea of its cost structure. So with the business model canvas, you can map out your entire business model in one image. This works for startup entrepreneurs just as well as for the most senior executives.
So we couldn't quit right now because that is the business model. That's everything that goes into it. But to give you a little more detail, I'm going to let Joe start. And he's going to take the first 2 segments of the model.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Livingston campus. We're glad to have you. Let's dive in a little bit deeper. There's always a debate. Do you start with the customer segments or do you start with value proposition? As the video does, as I advocate, we always start with the customer. Everything that we do in business really needs to be customer-centric. And a lot of times in business, we don't do it that way. We actually start with what we want to deliver and then go in search of a customer that we might be able to tackle and get to buy it. In my mind, I think we ought to start with the customer because without a customer, you simply do not have a business. If you can't sell something, if you can't get somebody to exchange money for your product or service, then you don't have a business. So we start with the customer segment. And one of the things that we have, one of the reasons I think it's very important is because when I talk to a lot of startup entrepreneurs, and I ask them, the first question I usually ask them, well, who are your customers? Who are you going after as your customers? 8 times out of 10, they'll say, well, everybody can be my customer. And as an active investor in town, that is pretty much a red flag, because not everybody can be your customer. Not everybody is going to value your product at the price that you can sell it, nor are there going to be a lot of folks that aren't going to value your product or service at all. And so what customer segmentation tries to do is to find a group or groups of people who will value what it is that you have to offer the way that you want to offer it at a price that will allow you to make a profit. And one of the first keys in trying to really build a robust business to go beyond the hobby stage is to find those groups of customers that really want what you have to offer. So I encourage people to focus quite a bit on who they think will want to buy their product or service. And right now, at this point in the business model canvas, that is really just an hypothesis. It's a theory about who's going to buy. We'll start talking about how you make that theory into a reality. But customer segmentation is very important. I think there are 3 big ways to segment customers. One is through demographics. Demographics, the things the Census Bureau tests for. Age, ethnicity, gender, income levels, those kinds of things. That is one way to segment customers. And it's important to kind of think about that because, once again, you're trying to find the group of people who value what it is you have to offer. So I can assure you that if you're trying to sell high-heel pumps, you might need to have some type of gender segmentation. And because I think women are going to desire that more than most men are. And so that's the idea of segmentation. If you said everybody wants to buy my high-heel pumps, then you're probably not going to focus the market the way that you ought to. A second way to segment a market is psychographic. How do people think? How do they view themselves? How do they view others? And to some degree, there are some societal constraints associated with psychographic segmentation as well. So, for instance, if I'm a person who believes that timeliness is a sign of respect, then I will value a service that gives me a set delivery time or a set time for me to engage with that service. If I don't feel that way, then broader periods of time might be a little bit better. Because it's not that I want people to be late, it's just that some people see timeliness more as an idea of respect. You respect me as a person. Others say, well, it's just good to be on time. And that's a psychographic difference. The third way that you can segment customers are geographically. It's much easier to sell snow shovels in Minneapolis than Miami. And so understanding where your geography is and the people who might want your product, then that is very important as well. So if you begin to think about segmentation, you begin to think about, okay, what are the demographics of the people who want to buy my product or service? Where do they live? How do they think and feel? And if you can begin to do that, begin to think about those people that way, then you can begin to target what it is that you have to offer. One of the ways that I encourage people to do that is, as they get these segments in their minds, is to develop personas around them. As they begin to say, I'm going to sell to women ages 35 to 50 who have incomes, household incomes of over $50,000, who live in Nashville, Tennessee, then get a persona of Sue who fits that, and then begin to build all the rest of your business around trying to deal with that persona, deal with that person. It's not true that businesses just need to have one segment. In fact, most businesses have different segments. They may be serving 2 or 3 different segments, but as they recognize those as different segments, pieces of this business model canvas will actually change based on the segmentation. So we encourage folks to have a different canvas, if you will, for each segment that you're trying to serve. A lot of the elements will be in common, especially the production and delivery elements, the operational elements will be in common. But it could be that because of the segmentation, you're going to need to approach them differently, you're going to need to have a different relationship with them, or you're going to need to have a different channel to deliver those products or services to them. And so it's good to think about segmentation. And that brings us, and I'm not a PowerPoint teacher, so which one of these moves us forward? I'm known on campus as a non-PowerPoint teacher. There we go, and you'll see that in just a moment. Then the second element that I want to go into detail is what I believe to be the second element you need to think about in building this canvas, and that is the value proposition. The value proposition is basically a clear statement of what makes your product or service valuable to the particular segment that you're addressing. So if you have 3 segments, you may have 3 nuances of that value proposition because the people view value differently. And I think that's important for you to realize is how this is in the mind of the customer. How does the customer see value in what it is that you have to offer? Now, since I'm not a PowerPoint guy, I'm a marker guy, and you probably can't see that. Some of you may not be able to see it because of the screen. I was really excited about being in this room. I don't normally teach in this room, but it has this huge whiteboard. And I was thinking about where I go find a ladder so I can kind of write all over this board, and then they cover it up with a screen. I don't understand it. But here's the way customers decide what they value. You do this all the time. You don't realize it, but you've been programmed to do it. But value is a function of utility over price. Now, there's a lot that goes into that that we don't have time to talk about, but people basically will never buy anything unless they get greater utility. Utility is the concept of benefit less the burden it takes to achieve that benefit. They will never buy anything from you unless they get greater utility than what they have to pay for it. And if they're comparing you to somebody else, they're going to buy from the person who gives them the highest ratio, the highest fraction. And you do that, and you're going to go buy avocados versus bananas, and you only have the money to buy one or the other, then you're going to buy the one that you want the most. If you're wanting to do guacamole, you're probably not going to buy bananas. Because the utility is the benefit of bananas in guacamole is not all that good, okay? So that's sort of the way you look at it, is what consumers value things. People who buy from you value as a function of utility over price. If you begin to think about that, value in the eye of the customer, I know, you have never developed a product or offered a service that you didn't think was the best in the world. Okay? When I talk to entrepreneurs, they'll say, oh, everybody in the world ought to want this. It's a bright, shiny object. Isn't it so beautiful? And they'll say that, and, you know, it's beautiful in your eyes, just like you were when you were a baby in your mama's eyes. But it may not be beautiful to the customer. And so the idea here is to think about value, think about utility from the perspective of the customer. So utility from the perspective of the customer comes back to the idea of, is there some pain that you can relieve for that customer? Customers really value pain relief. Is there a problem that you can solve for that customer? Is there a want or a need that you can meet for that customer at a price that the customer is willing to pay? And if you can begin to identify these problems or these pain points or these wants and needs, and you can begin to see, I can deliver my product or service, I can benefit the customer at a price that they will pay and that I can make money selling that product or service, then you have a value proposition. Once again, if the customer segments are different, they may have to structure that value proposition a little bit differently for each one of those customer segments because they're going to value what you have to offer differently. And if I'm looking at life through the eyes of the customer, if I'm asking myself, if I were my own customer, why would I want to buy this product or service at this price? Then you can begin to have this idea of the value proposition. I think one of the good ways to sum up a value proposition is with an elevator pitch. Now at Swain, we only have a one-story elevator. We only have 2 stories, so we only have 1 stop. So the elevator pitch has to be a little slow or a little fast. Except that elevator is a little bit slow. Occasionally you get stuck, then you can have a really long speech. But normally the elevator pitches are very short. And what you want to be able to say is if you are talking to somebody in your customer segment, a target customer of yours, you want to be able to give them a short statement that briefly explains how you can deliver whatever it is that they value, whatever they see as utility, and whatever they consider to be value. So utility, the benefit of things that you deliver to the customer, less the burden it takes for them to achieve, to get those things from you. And in doing that, you begin to see what they consider to be valuable. Now the issue you have here is that normally we can't do this in the linear way that we present it. I say that you start with the customer segment, but in your mind, you already know the product or service that you want to deliver. And so this is really a circular, iterative kind of process until you get them aligned. Because you're saying, okay, I want to deliver this product or service, and I think it's going to have this kind of value. And I believe that this type of customer, I believe Sue is going to want to buy this product or service. And then you go engage with Sue. And the market is always the judge of whether you're right or not. And so you go engage with Sue and you see, well, Sue really doesn't value this aspect of my product or service very much. And you might say, well, okay, Sue and that customer segment doesn't value it. Why should I offer it? It costs me money to offer a different feature. That means that my cost structure is higher. If that feature is not very valuable to this particular customer segment, can I do away with it, reduce my cost, be able to change the price that I might have? There are a lot of different ways that this iteration takes place. Really, what you have going on, when you do the customer, you've got this customer segment here, and you've got a value proposition over here, the things that you think are going to be valuable here, and really you're trying to find this intersection. Now some of these other things that you consider to be valuable may intersect with other customer segments, but that's essentially what it is you're trying to do, is to intersect value, what customers consider to be value, and what you can deliver to them. The other thing though is you can lose your shirt doing that. Just delivering what a customer considers to be valuable is not enough. You can lose your shirt doing that. So what you're really after is you're really after a space right here, and I'll just use the concept of price, a price at which you can make a profit. So you're really after this very small space where the customer, where the customer segment, the value proposition you can deliver to that segment at a price where you can make money, where all of those intersect. And it's going to take you some iterations. It's going to take you some engagement in the marketplace. It's going to take some of the willingness for you to make adjustments in what it is you're going to offer in order to find that sweet spot. But until you find that sweet spot, you really are not building a sustainable business. Now, one of the things that Ed's going to do as he takes you through the rest of it is begin to talk about what it takes.
Accounting is a cost. Either you're going to do it yourself and you're going to spend your time doing the accounting, or you're going to farm it out and have to spend money. But either way, that's one of the activities just to run a business. And you need to consider all the activities in running your business, customer service, to develop those customer relationships. You need great customer service. And so that is another activity that goes into your business. Nowadays, very few businesses do everything themselves. You typically have some partners that you're working with. It can be suppliers. It can be complementary services. Say you're a handyman and you're going out and fixing people's problems in their homes. Well, what if you need a licensed electrician or a licensed plumber? They're complementary services. They add to what you do. If you've got that plumber and that electrician, and you don't have to tell the homeowner to call these people, that's complementary services. It's a partnership you have. And as far as they know, you're just a bigger business than you really are. Outside service providers could be an accounting firm, could be a law firm, could be SCORE. It could be anybody outside that is helping your business, helping you with your value proposition. And then strategic alliances, I think of movie theaters and restaurants right next to each other. Often you get a discount from one to go to the other. And what you're doing is you're expanding that customer's evening because now they have dinner and a movie instead of just dinner or just a movie. So small businesses, it's very easy to find people that you can align yourself with and kind of share some marketing efforts. The next step, and I go this way, a lot of people start with revenue first, but I'm really interested in my cost. Because it doesn't really matter what you do first, you've got to figure out what it costs to develop this value proposition. And I look at all my resources, all my activities, all my partnerships, and the cost of each of those added together is going to be my cost of running this business. And you look both at fixed cost, your building, your lease, your utilities, which it doesn't matter if you sell 0 or 1,000 of these items, you have that cost every month. And then you look at the variable costs that change based on how much you're selling. And virtually every business has some fixed cost and some variable cost. And don't forget to count your salary. Okay, if you're starting your small business, I've had people show me how they're going to make all this money or they're going to break even in 2 months, and they haven't considered they don't get paid. You know, you're running a business, you want to get some money, right? So make sure that's in your cost structure. Revenue streams, we've got the sale of the value proposition is the #1 revenue stream for almost every business. It's what you're selling, how much do you sell it for. We try to look at transaction, which is one-time revenue versus recurring revenue. Recurring revenue is things that keep coming even after that initial sale. Usage fees is kind of recurring revenue. Visa, every time you use your Visa card, Visa makes money. You never get charged for getting that card. I mean, that's like free. All they care about is the usage fees. Licensing fees, if you have intellectual property, can you license that intellectual property to somebody else and just continue earning some money there? Service fees, and that little sample I have there is a car dealership. Car dealerships make more money servicing your car than they do selling you your car. Okay, so they're looking at, yeah, I got this one transaction piece, which is selling the car, but I have this ongoing revenue stream, which is servicing the car. And then advertising revenue, you think of people like companies like Facebook and Google, they're giving away their value proposition to almost all their users. And they're making their money off advertising. Even a small business might be able to earn some money advertising other businesses on your website. That's all the notes put together. I have done this, and I'm just going to, we're not going, because of time constraints, we're not going to go over this, but I have a sample business model in your packet, and that is for an emotional product company. You're welcome to look at that and go through that in your own time. And then get with a score mentor, because we can explain how that is put together. Visual, dynamic, used to develop that elevator pitch Joe was talking about. It's a basis for a business plan. You probably are going to have to do a business plan, but you can use this model, and that, if you've done research, you're ready to write your business plan. Evaluate new offerings and changes, consequences throughout the model. I love the fact that if I add a new value proposition or a new customer segment, I can look at the entire model on this one canvas and I can say, I've got to change this, this, and this. If you do it in your business plan, it becomes kind of difficult to go to the proper sections. Watch competitors. Look at the competitors' business model. If Blockbuster had watched what Netflix was doing, there'd be a different result. So watch your competitors and start developing your financial projections. The fine print about business model, there's not enough detail for a lender. If you go to a bank and have nothing but this, they're not ready to loan you money. Okay? Budgeting and financial details are missing. Income statements, balance sheets, cash flow statements. Not only do you need that for the bank, but you need it for yourself, for your own budgeting. You have to have some idea how much money you're expecting to make. So then you can go back and look. Did I make it? Did I not make it? Why did I make it? Oh, I made more than I expected. Why is that? You know? So you do need to do the financials. You can't live with just the model. So, more information, you can get the book. Okay? And it's listed in your handout. Get the book. Google Business Model Canvas. You find all kinds of neat stuff out there on the internet. Or come to our workshop and get 3 hours of this. And when you leave the workshop, you will have a working model, at least an initial draft of a business model. Joe, we're ready for questions.
So let's try to take a few questions. Yes.
So, and I already know this is coming. I need something that is, I'm going to talk about it. I know there's an app, because there's always an app for that. I have the big poster board, but I need something mobile. So any suggestions on something that I can carry around that's realistic? The app is not bad, but it's a little difficult to use because it's not a pretty paper that I can see everything very clearly.
Yeah, there are a couple of resources if you Google Business Model Canvas, but go to a site called Canvanizer, canvanizer.com, and it has a very interactive way to build your business model canvas, to actually share it with other people if you've got team members that are helping, and so for all that interaction, you can, then it'll actually save to a PDF and that kind of thing as well. So canvanizer.com is a very good site. Oh goodness. C-A-N V-A-N-I-Z-E-R, canvanizer.com.
And there are others out there. If you're on that, if you're on like a tablet, you can go to the App Store. And you can find others as well. That is a great one. There's another one I use. I don't even remember the name of it. There's plenty of them.
We have another question here.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Joe. I work with a lot of small businesses and a lot of people in the music side who want to get into business or actually want to move what they're doing along in that field. And many of them run as far as they can to these banks to get money because they offer up the opportunity to do it through crowdsourcing. I wonder if either of you or both of you could comment on still using this kind of model, even though they are going out there to put their value proposition out using crowdsourcing.
I think if you look at crowdsourcing as just a source of funding, you still have to have a business that is worth funding. And what this business model canvas is designed to do is to help you build that business on paper. I'm the strategy professor at Lipscomb. I teach graduate, undergraduate strategy, which is our capstone program. And the reason I like the business model canvas, when we present it like this in a very short fashion, it can come across as too simplistic. It is really not simplistic at all. It's a simple visualization. The thought that goes behind it is fairly complex business thought if it's done well. And so it's really the place where your business strategy and your business operations come together. We talk about the right-hand side of it being revenue and the left-hand side being cost. Another way to think about it is the right-hand side is strategy and the left-hand side is operations. And all of those kind of get muddled in the middle a little bit. And so I think if you're going to go crowdsourcing, you still need to understand how it is, how you're going to build your business and what the business is really going to be. And if you don't understand then if you're a musician and don't understand revenue and cost, and what they need to have over here in the resources, how are they going to know how much money to try to even crowdsource? So that's just part of building the business.
Well, we have one question here, and then we need to go ahead and get moving on. But the Canvanizer you're mentioning, is that available on multiple platforms, iPhone, iOS?
It is a web app, and so I think you go into their website, and I'm not sure if they have it out yet or not. But it's very easy to use on a computer.
So it's definitely available on your web browser, on your PC or Mac. Well, with that, thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank you.
Joe, Mr. Anthony, it's very much. We're going to do a quick set change here, but I hope you realize, ever since Ed brought this to store about, it's been what, 3 or 4 years ago now, this whole business modeling concept has really ingrained itself as part of the DNA of our Explore chapter. So it really doesn't matter what workshop that you go into. We have the full business modeling workshop you can attend, but just about every workshop that you attend at Explore will have some little snippet of business modeling in there. It's like I said, it is really true part of what we do. So thank you all again very, very much. And they are available, guys, so during the break, feel free to seek these guys out and ask a few additional questions regarding this. One quick to recognize 3 of our sponsors. Alternative Cash Solutions, guys, is a nationally recognized leader in commercial finance. They are leading the way in commercial lending of all types, including commercial real estate loans, so those who look to buy or build, SBA financing, equipment leasing, accounts receivable financing, bridge and home lending loans, and others too. They work with small, medium, and large-sized businesses and have a broad portfolio of financial products to provide the capital their clients need. And again, their table's out in the lobby. Along, and right next to them is the Capital Financial Group. They provide comprehensive financial advisory services for both businesses and business owners, including assistance with financial and successional plans, business valuation, and ensuring key or strategic personnel stop by their booth and sign up for a free 30-minute consultation. And the UPS stores of Middle Tennessee. They offer packing and shipping services, but more importantly, providing solutions for small businesses. They include online and traditional printing, binding, mailbox services, personalization of documents, moving, and even notary services. Additionally, through relations with value service providers at the 34 Middle Tennessee locations, you'll get exclusive details for the types of services your small business needs. So thank you, Alternative Cash Solutions, Capital Financial Group, and the UPS stores of Middle Tennessee. All right, if you look on your agenda, the next program you'll see, we have a couple of attorneys coming up. And as they come up here, does anybody know what is the mascot of the university that we're standing on here? What are they? Bisons. Bisons, very good. Even with yes, it's still bison. So I got a question for you. What is the difference between a herd of bison and a group of lawyers? Anybody? Well, just so you know, the group of lawyers charge more than the herd of bison. So, all right. Well, I'm going to introduce these guys. They're fantastic. First, I'd like to introduce Rachel. Rachel Schaefer is no stranger to small business. Both her grandfather and mother were small business owners and entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurship was one of her majors at Northeastern University in Boston. She received her Juris Doctorate from Loyola School of Law in New Orleans. She's now a principal at the Schaefer Law Firm right here in Nashville. So welcome, Rachel. And also, I'd like to introduce Luke Ledorf. Luke is a homegrown attorney from right here in Nashville. As a National School of Law graduate, Luke specializes in creating custom legal solutions for small business owners and entrepreneurs. So welcome, Luke.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you, SCORE and Lipscomb, for hosting me today. I am located here in Nashville. I've been practicing for about 5 years. I'm licensed here in Tennessee as well as New York State, which actually comes in handy, especially with my music clients that I work with. I'm located in Edgehill Village. I'm right behind Taco Mamacita, so if you ever want to just come in and say hello, if you just follow the smell of the trash, I'm right next to it. Yes. And if you've gone over to Edgehill, we've got a lot of good things going on over there, a lot of changes, which is very exciting for someone like myself. My area of expertise, I am a business attorney, and I have 4 types of clientele I work for: hospitality, entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and entertainment. So if you are within any of those businesses, that's really my bread and butter. But I do a ton of intellectual property. I'm a intellectual property nerd. I will make a caveat: I do not handle patents. In order to be a patent attorney, you have to have had special type of undergraduate training. You have to sit for a special bar exam. I do not have that licensure. I have several really excellent partners at firms around town that handle patents. And I would very strongly recommend that if you have a patentable thing, and we'll talk about what that might be in a minute, I would recommend talking to someone very, very much within your field. So if you're a biochem, if you are inventing a product, you need to talk to someone who has expertise in that field. But we're going to go through the very basics. I know enough about patents to basically be dangerous, but my area of expertise is copyright and trademark. I love it. I've loved copyright since I was in college, and then I have a torrid love affair with trademark. And so I do a lot of that in my practice.
Before we go up, we're going to check your mute button real quickly here. So hopefully we can hear you.
I usually can project. Okay. Better? Yes. Okay, good. Okay. So I thought I'd give you some fun facts. Intellectual property in the United States is valued at $5.5 trillion. This is an older statistic, and I would imagine that it has gone up, representing 47% of our GDP and greater than the GDP of every other nation except China. That's a huge, huge thing. Just think about that. I would say intellectual property is probably the biggest thing that we export from this country. We are one of the largest producers of it, and we will continue to be, hopefully. Only 5% of patents end up having any real commercial value. So think about that, okay? So I had 2 fun facts on the bottom. To prevent piracy of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, a Montreal movie theater monitored moviegoers with metal detectors and night vision goggles and checked popcorn for video cameras. Martin Luther King Jr.'s estate charges academic authors $50 for each sentence of the I Have a Dream speech. And a more recent issue, if anyone has been following the Kim Davis issue, EMI has sued her and Mike Huckabee for $2.1 million for using Eye of the Tiger. They will be successful on that lawsuit if it goes forward. The reason why, that song was publicly displayed without permission to everyone across this nation as well as others. They have the right, as the owners and creators of that song, to decide who gets to hear it and in what context. They didn't want it in that context. Big lawsuit. $2.1 million, plus attorney's fees. So. Think about that. It's a nice payday for somebody like me. Okay. What is intellectual property? I find that there's a lot of information on the internet about intellectual property. Enough to make pretty much everyone really dangerous about it. A lot of really bad information out there as well. I strongly suggest that if you have intellectual property questions, talk to somebody like myself or Luke about it. We have the expertise to be able to debunk a lot of those myths and mysterious things about intellectual property. And not every attorney is created equal. You want to find someone who actually does practice in this area. It is kind of a gray area of law. Not everyone can wrap their head around that these mind creations, intellectual property, are and how those rights spring into existence and how they're protected. Because all 3 of them are different. So creations of the mind: inventions, literary and artistic works, designs, symbols, names, and images used in commerce. So the 3 types of law that protect intellectual property are copyright, trademark, and patent. These are all federal protection. Okay, there is state protection for all of them as well, which is what we consider in the common law. But all 3 of these are considered federal protection, which is definitely a much better type of protection than having state protection. We'll talk about why. Okay, so let's talk about copyright. Copyright is a form of protection grounded in the Constitution and granted by law for original works of authorship fixed in a tangible medium of expression. Those red bolded sentences are the really big points. This is when you learn copyright in law school, this is what we talk about. So original. Work must be original to the author, must possess at least some minimal degree of creativity. So when I created this presentation, I have to think to myself, Rachel, I'm not talking to a group of law students. We need to bring it down so that people can understand it. Because we can get into an entire, 3-week discussion about the originality factor and another 3-week discussion about tangible media. But I just want to give you guys enough information so that you can, start thinking about some of these things. Tangible medium. Best to look at what is not tangible. So when I usually teach this to law students and other people, I take a piece of paper, I scribble something on it, and I'm like, this is copyrighted. And everyone goes, ooh, ah. And it's very exciting because it's true. The second that I have created that thing, it's in some sort of an ink, hopefully in pencil, but if it's an ink drawing, and I have drawn it in front of you all, and it's original, clearly it came from my brain, it has copyright protection. It has those rights that we call copyrights, and there are 6 of them, okay? We call them a bundle of sticks. That's the analogy that we use. Because you can take one of those sticks out and give it to one person. You can take another stick out and give it to somebody else. Or you can keep them all for yourself. It doesn't matter. But you have those rights. They spring into existence the second that you do these things. Now, as far as registering copyright, we'll talk about that. That's a different story and what that means. And that doesn't add any sort of rights. It doesn't add any kind of protection. What it does allow you to do is to sue people for a lot more money, which is what you want to do. How long does copyright protection last? Life of the author plus 7 years. The reason is because of that little dude right there, and Sonny Bono. So a few years ago, if anyone remembers back in the 90s, Sonny Bono, Mickey Mouse was coming up into the public domain, meaning that he had been around so long that soon he was going to be able to be used by everybody. And Disney didn't like that. So they decided that Sonny Bono was going to be their guy, and he extended the life of copyright. If they try to do that again, I highly doubt that's going to happen. Eventually, works are going to come into the public domain. And so so life of the author, sometimes there's more than one author, so the longest living author is plus 70 years. It's a long life, okay? And these are obviously for works that are post a certain date. We're not going to go into that because the Copyright Act has had some revisions over time. Oh, geez. What types of works are protected under copyright? Literary, dramatic, musical, and artistic. Since probably the 1980s, we have seen probably the largest jump in technological advances that we've ever seen in the history of the human race. I remember, 8-track tapes, and now we're at nothing. We're at MP3s. So, that's a really big jump in a short amount of time. And new things are coming up every day that are challenging us attorneys and challenging the court systems as to what is covered. Computer code is covered. I'm sure that as things, start to continue on, we're going to have even more challenges. That's what makes this area of law so dynamic. Does not include facts, ideas, systems, and methods of operation. I usually bold out ideas because people come to me constantly like, I have this idea. I need to protect it. Well, that's great, but an idea from your head does not, you can't have that protection. You've got to go back to these 2 things. If it's not original and it's not in a tangible medium, you don't have anything yet. So Facebook, if anyone's seen The Social Network, actually very much enjoyed that movie because they got the legal stuff pretty well right on that. So the 2 really tall brothers, I can't remember their names, I have some weird Polish name, they had an idea. That's awesome for you guys, awesome. Mark Zuckerberg decided to turn it into a tangible medium and he used his own originality with it. He wins the game. Sorry, that's how that works. I got a nice payoff from that though. So I wanted to bring this example up here. So this photograph of President Obama, photographs are protected, okay? There's, I think last year at the Oscars, there was a really big group selfie that I think Bradley Cooper took. And there was all this question about who owned the copyright in this photo, because it was, I think, Ellen's phone, but he hit the shutter button. And technically under copyright law, you hit the shutter click button, or on the phone, you click the button. You are the artist, ergo you own the copyright. The other question is if a monkey were to take a picture, who owns it? Really. We have gone into that as attorneys, I'm not kidding. Photographs are considered protected. The painting on the right, there was a lawsuit about this, because as you can see, clearly the painting is derived from the photograph. He didn't have permission to do that. So he infringed on the photographer's rights when he did that. It's a derivative work. The rights and copyright that you have are public performance, display, derivative work is a big one. You have the ability as a photographer, you have the first right to make that painting of that thing. You can turn it into a bobblehead. I don't care what you do with it. You have those rights unless you license them away to somebody. A license is saying, I give you permission to do this thing with it. So there was a lot of issue surrounding that particular thing. So that's kind of just the very basics of copyright, okay? And if you guys have questions, obviously we'll address those again. Trademarks, so this is I do a lot of trademarking. Copywriting is actually relatively easy, and if you want to copyright work, then we'll talk about what that entails. But we're talking about what are these things. So what is a trademark? It's an identifier of goods and services. So I constantly get calls from people, I have something I want to trademark. Are you sure about that? What is it, and what is the good or service it's identifying? So you have an idea for a name. Okay, what's it for? What good or services does it signify? If you have a Coca-Cola can, Coca-Cola equals soft drink, okay? Good and service, mark, trademark, yay. Logo and name plus good and service plus use in commerce equals federal trademark protection. So a lot of people don't understand the difference between the R in the circle and the TM. R in the circle equals federal trademark protection. TM equals common law trademark protection. The circle and the R in the circle is what we want. We really want that. That means that you have the exclusive right to use that name throughout the entire country. You own that. Trademark. You use it or you lose it. Trademark doesn't have a set life like copyright does. Remember, copyright is the life of the author plus 70 years. Trademark, as long as you're using it, you will not lose it. Now, there are some filing requirements in order to keep it alive under the USPTO. But it doesn't matter. You can have it for hundreds of years, 2 years, doesn't matter. So long as you keep it required filings, trademark will not die. And if you ever go to the USPTO website and you search a trademark, you'll see alive or dead on there. And that means that the USPTO has determined that a mark has died because someone's no longer using it. That's how they determine the use of trademarks. You can trademark sounds, colors, bottle designs, all sorts of things. I know JC has a blue that is trademarked. I believe that Coca-Cola's red is trademarked. And how those things, how that happens, and really thinking about some of that stuff. Another thing is trade dress. I believe, I know this for a fact, but the interior of Chuy's, if you go to any Chuy's Mexican restaurant in the country, they all look the same. That is considered trade dress. They've created the interior of that, and that's considered trade dress. You actually find a lot of times copyright, trademark, and patent, sometimes you can have overlaps on things, okay? And sometimes we do see multiple protections. We see trademark and something that is trademark and copyrighted. Depends on the situation, always. But the point is that you've got, the thing I want you guys to take away from this is you can't just have a logo and say, I want to trademark this thing. That's awesome. But if it doesn't identify a good or a service, we're missing part of the equation. Also, we've got to use it in commerce. The use in commerce is the thing most people lack, which means you have to cross state lines with it. The advent of the internet makes that a lot easier to do now, but you have to cross state lines before you can qualify for that R in the circle, okay? What is a patent? Again, I'm really going to read from the slides because I don't do patent. Granting property right to an inventor, right to exclude others from making the invention. You get 20 years. So this is the shortest life of all three. Most people don't realize that. So you really want to maximize what you get out of that 20 years, meaning license, 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 license. 3 types. Design, utility, and plant. Design is a new, original, ornamental for an article of manufacture. Utility is a new or useful process, machine, article of manufacture, or composition of matter, and a useful improvement thereof. I recommend that people think about really hiring an attorney. Like I said, copyright can be that way. And this is one of my favorite quotes about entrepreneurship, because I am also an entrepreneur. But I'm going to turn it over to Luke to talk about some entrepreneurial type stuff.
Good morning. Thank you, Rachel. That was a great presentation. I was just asked to quickly hit on a few of the other topics that when, as a startup or new business or in a growth phase, when you might want to go consult with an attorney. The first one in startup, the question that usually the first people that come to my office when they're starting a business is, I want to incorporate. I've been told I need to protect my personal assets, that means I need to come and start either an incorporation or an LLC. There's a lot of back and forth over which one's better. Sometimes CPAs will tell you one's better than the other. As lawyers, a lot of times we recommend an LLC just because of the flexibility of it. But it's somebody to get an attorney and a CPA both on your team and sit down and look at some of the tax benefits and the personal asset protection. So that's the first place you want to start because there's plenty of websites very similar to IP. You can do these type of things yourself. But all that they're doing is helping you fill out a form. They're not telling you when you need to be filing those LLC and those incorporations. Yes.
Don't go there. Especially for what I just talked about, but absolutely for what he's talking
What
about.
did you say? What you said?
Legal Zoom.
Legal Zoom.
Don't go there.
You don't want to zoom through starting your business.
You also don't want to zoom through trying to do your will on Legal Zoom. Judge Kennedy doesn't like Legal Zoom wills, and he ends up throwing them out most of the time, so don't do it. If you have done it, come talk to one of us. We'll fix it.
And part of that startup work too, if you have more than one owner of the business, you definitely need to see a lawyer and get your bylaws, operating agreement, whatever type of business you're going into, and get that partnership agreement in writing, especially if you're going into business with family. Rachel and I were talking about this earlier. There's a lot of family-owned businesses that come into our offices that do not have it in writing. Who's owns what percentage, what is your job description, all of those different type of things. How much are you getting paid? You want to put those things in writing so there's no argument about it. It's a lot easier at the beginning. Well, it's a lot easier at the beginning when everybody's on the same page to sit down and do an easy partnership agreement. It's going to cost you a lot less to get an attorney on the front end than it is on the back end when you're in the middle of litigation.
And here's an example. I actually make my clients go through marriage counseling before they decide to go into partnership. You have to go through that with me. I will not allow you to go into a partnership if you're going to do it through me without that. Because I'm writing a book that's called Business Relationships, Marriage Without Sex. Unless you're married to your partner. Can you be married to your partner for 50 years? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Because that's what it really is about. It's no different unless you are married to your partner. Then it's really no different at all. So you need to ask those questions and you need to go through the marriage counseling. If any of you who are married in here, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
And following up on the partnership is the investor agreement. If you've got somebody, if you're going out and starting to look for funding, and you've got some big investors, they're probably got their own attorneys, and those attorneys are going to probably draft those contracts, but they're going to be very one-sided to the investor. So if you're the business owner, get with an attorney, at least pay a couple $100 and have them read through it and explain to you what that means, what rights you're giving up. A lot of times they're buying your intellectual property, and if you don't understand what your rights are to own that intellectual property in the first place, you might be giving up a lot of ownership that you aren't even aware of. So as you're going through the startup, those are the three big things that I have found. Moving into the growth phase, the biggest thing I have are employment issues. As you go to start hiring your first employee, I get a lot of questions about independent contractor versus employees. People try to avoid things like workers' compensation, other insurance, all the taxes, by saying, oh, I don't have any employees. All of the people that work for me are independent contractors. Well, if you're saying those people are working for you, they're probably not independent contractors. The state of Tennessee, through the Department of Workforce and Labor Development, has a great checklist online. You can go and check it out, and it has some of the qualifications to be either an independent contractor or an employee. They are very similar to what the tax laws are, so CPAs often help you out on this side as well, but there's also some specific laws, both state and federal, as to a number of employees start qualifying you under different federal laws and different state laws. So your number of employees can be very important as to what classifications you are in. So get with an attorney and make sure that if you are paying people as independent contractors, that they are truly independent contractors. Make sure you get your lease reviewed as you're growing, moving into new space. Definitely have a lease review. It's not too hard to do. And then any other contract, software, anything like that, if you're going to be paying thousands of dollars a year on a contract, get an attorney to look at that on the front end. Make sure you understand exactly what you're going into. Those are the big things that I think as you're going, and the show of hands showed about half of you were thinking about startup, half of you were kind of in the growth phase. So those are the things that as you all are in those phases, make sure you at least consult with an attorney. Most attorneys will offer a free consultation to at least sit down with you and figure out if you do need an attorney at that point. So, definitely, yes. Make sure that you ask them if it is a free
I
consultation.
don't agree with that. I know a lot who do charge an initial consultation. I do not. And so I would definitely make sure you ask the cost question up front about that kind of thing. But guys, we sell peace of mind. That's what we do as attorneys. That is my value proposition to you. You can figure out how to file your own LLC, or you can probably take about 3 hours to do that, figure out where all the filing is, and probably do it wrong. 99% of the time it's done wrong. Or you can call over me, we can handle it in 30 minutes, and you know it's done right. So, I mean, think about it. You gotta spend a little bit to make a little bit. You gotta spend a little bit to make sure things are done right. That's what we sell. That's what we do.
And going back to the business model, you know, we try to, as attorneys, especially when we focus so much on small business, we're trying to add value to a small business. We're not, so look at it as a value partnership and not necessarily as a cost. If you have a good attorney on your team, it can really help your business become successful, because nothing will kill a business quicker than a lawsuit and you don't have any funds to.
Anyone who's been sued knows exactly what that's all about. But definitely, look, Luke and I both own our firms. We know where you guys have been and where you're going and what it feels like to be in the deal position on the floor about everything. And that's a value we can add that some of the attorneys in the larger firms don't have that experience. Not only are we attorneys, but we are also entrepreneurs. So we've been there. We know what it feels like. And that is something that I'm extremely proud of, and one of the things that I love about what I do. If you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, I will shove you onto the side of that fence so fast. I love it. It's the best thing I ever did for myself. So, I mean, everything that he's mentioned is absolutely essential if you're going to have a business, and you want to have an attorney as a partner on your team in the long term. Don't think about it as a one-off thing. Think about it as someone, as a colleague and a friend that you can really rely on and really use throughout the life of your business. That's what I like to do. I don't like doing one-off deals. I like having a relationship. And most of my clients I've been working with since day one, going on 5 years.
Do we have time for a few questions?
We got time for 2 questions, guys. I saw 4
I'll be
over here, so.
I'll be outside.
Over here. There we go, right here.
Hi, I'm starting up a subscription box service.
So hot right now.
I know, it's going to be book related, and in fact, my logo is supposed to be delivered on the front of it. So one of the things I'm thinking out beyond getting my business permits and such is the trademarking aspect of it. And I was just, while you were talking, I was looking at BarkBox. They have 200,000 subscribers, and they have the R symbol. Loot Crate has 100,000 subscribers, and they have the trademark symbol. So what is the difference? Loot Crate is huge, BarkBox is huge. They have 2 different trademarks. What's going on there?
Well, the TM is usually meant for common law. The R in the circle is for federal. Now, the other one, what is it called again?
Loot Crate.
Loot Crate? Is it 1 word or 2?
2.
What do they sell? I'm not familiar.
It's very much like a pop culture type of box.
Okay. There could be several reasons why they could be in the process of registration. They could be dealing with an opposition. The USPTO may think that they're too generic. So if you decide to create coffee cups and you call it coffee cups, you're not going to get registration for that because it literally is descriptive of the thing. But if you want to call coffee cups phones, that's arbitrary. That has a stronger level of protection. You could go on the supplemental registry. So there's several reasons why that could be. I would have to probably look into it to answer that question a little bit more in depth, but there's several reasons, or they're just choosing not to do it.
Right.
Probably the easiest. Usually the simplest explanation is the answer.
I definitely want to talk to you about trademarking in my business. Thank you.
Don't forget that this individual's. Here we go. Right here.
Yes, I want to go into business with fashion design. So what I need to concentrate more on the trademark and copywriting as far as protecting my work.
Fashion is a very interesting field when it comes to copywriting, and because it's considered a utilization thing. So clothing has been difficult when it comes to copyright. It's not in trademark. We're not talking about that. Your logo would be trademark, but the actual designs that you're making, it depends on as far as copywriting some of those things. It can be done, and it is done by several high-end designers quite frequently. But because it's a thing that is useful, aka clothes that you put on your body, it's a little bit different process when it comes to copywriting, what you're able to copyright. And we can, that's a more in-depth conversation as well. Trying to make my answers really short.
Now, our last question is from over here, and I know about 4 of you that specifically are in the business of educating others on some level. And the question is if there is a unique educational model that they're presenting, does that need to be protected? If it's
Most likely, yes.
Unique delivery.
Yes, it depends on what it is, though. It depends on if it rises to the level of copyright protection. Is it original? Is it tangible? And that's the question we have to ask. And it's really a lot of it's on a case-by-case basis. That's why, I'm giving you guys a lot of really generic stuff, but at the end of the day, that's why you want to come talk to me, because I like to hear what is it that you're doing and what can we do to protect all of it. Because it is, everybody's idea in here is different. We all have free will, we're all individuals. So my guess is that, 4 of you are doing something that has, a type of educational model. I guarantee you they're not all the same. So we want to make sure that we protect all of this.
As we follow.
So the specific question is, if I create an online educational program and then sell those online similar to CLE programs, if I sold online CLE programs, would I have to?
Oh, yes. Yeah, you want to have those protected. Trust me, do you know how easy it is now to just pick up a photo and drop it in your website, pick up a video and drop it in your website? Happens all the time, all the time. You want to make sure that if that happens, that especially like if someone who has a lot of money does it, we want to do them for a lot of money. So think about this. When the I'm telling you, that's the point. That's how we think. The RIAA a couple years ago, people remember when they sued everybody for, infringing Napster and all of that kind of stuff came out, like that's, it was a while ago. $250,000 per infringement per work. Per infringement per work is the max you can get. That's a lot of money. There was one of the facts that I had found was a 65-year-old grandmother was sued for it, and it was on her computer under her account. It was not her doing it. I think it was her grandson doing it. I think it was like $5 million I tried to sue her for. Now, that was not, in my opinion, the RIAA was not very smart about that whole thing from a PR perspective. Just because you can sue somebody doesn't mean that you should, okay? That, I think we've become too much of a litigious society. That's another conversation of the day. However, they were trying to make a point. They were trying to make a point that they can enforce these rights, and they will if they have to. And they will. The RIAA doesn't care. They have a ton of money, and they really don't care about public perception, apparently. And some people don't. If anyone in here has been sued, you know exactly what I'm talking about, the emotional toll, the financial toll that it takes on you, either on the plaintiff or defendant side. I hate litigation. I'd rather settle stuff. But sometimes it's a necessary evil. But we want to, the point of hiring someone like me and Luke is that we want to try to figure out a way to insulate you for as long as possible. I can't guarantee you we can do that forever, because it's not possible, because we can't control everybody. But we want to do everything we can to protect you as much as we can.
Well, guys, what do you think? How they did?